having a conversation in the grocery store or at church or at a restaurant or whatever it is, that really is the bare minimum, but it's also extremely impactful. I find when I'm out in public, people seem to be chomping at the bits to talk politics, whether it's in the checkout line, and surprisingly enough, I'm very seldomly the one to initiate the conversation. All it takes is that cashier just scanning and the price going up, and she's scanning and it's going up. And then before you know it, they're like, oh man, these prices are insane, and da da da. And then the conversation just happens.
Just say to the American people, get out and vote, and you're going to be really happy. We're going to be safe. We're going to be respected again, and you're going to be very happy.
I'd like to close out with one thing, and that's just my message. So if you are a voter, grab a friend and drag them to the poll.
Great.
And make them vote.
People have to vote. This is going to be the most important election in the history of our country.
We have no idea where they're at in our country, and now we're sending them $40 to $87 million a week. It's so bad that I did an interview with Ahmad Massoud. He's the leader of the Afghan resistance.
Right.
We wanted to get in front of Congress to warn us about the oncoming threat that we're facing because we're funding the Taliban.
Yep.
We had made a petition. It now has almost 300,000 signatures. We got it to Representative McCall. He's done nothing, not one thing. Why do you think Congress doesn't want to see Massoud?
Well, I'm surprised when you say Macaulay's a good man, but I was so against that whole thing. You know, just so you know, I wanted to get out, but I wanted to get out with dignity and strength. I spoke to the head of the Taliban on numerous occasions because they were killing our soldiers. They were snipers, and they were killing our soldiers during Obama and a little bit during me at the beginning. And I heard about it, and I said, get the head of the Taliban. And the press went crazy when they heard I was speaking to him on a telephone. And I told him in a pretty tough way, but nice enough, don't do it. Abdul, his name is Abdul. He's still there. He's still the head. And I said, don't do it. And he understood that. And in 18 months, not one person was killed. You know that during my time.
Yes.
Nobody would have been killed. Then we had a rigged election, and they took over, and it started. Started in a lot of places. Russia started to form along the border. Would have never happened if I was president. But and by the way, October 7th would have never happened in Israel because Iran was broke. They had no money to do anything. Now they have $300 billion. They made it all in the last 3.5 years. I said, anybody that buys I just wanted to have a deal with Iran. Very simple deal. Can't have a nuclear weapon. That's it. I want them to be happy. I want them to have great lives. I want them to have a great country. Can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. And I would have had that deal done within a week after the election, but the election was a disgrace to our country, another disgrace. But with Afghanistan, NATO is very unfair to us because we spend far more than we should be spending on NATO. These other countries, which many of them are very rich, they don't spend. It's a very unfair thing. NATO, for us, is a very unfair thing. But the worst part is Europe to us on trade is horrible. They don't take our farm products. They don't take our cars. I said to Angela Merkel, Angela, how many Chevrolets do you have in the middle of Germany? She said, none. I said, that's right. How many do you have in Munich? She said, none. I said, that's right. You know how many Mercedes-Benzes, BMWs, and Volkswagens? We have millions. I said, it's going to have to change. They take advantage of us on trade, not quite like China, but not that far off. We lose $250 billion a year with Europe trading with international companies. And China wants them, and all of Europe wants them. And we can be the tough guy like this this person that should not be really running for president. It's a very dangerous thing to have a person running for president with the views that she's got. You know, when you're a politician and you come out with something early, that's usually where you are. So she came out with all these different things, open borders, to fund the police. That's where her thinking is. That's where she is. That's how she grew up.
Mr.
And
President,
that's what she's going to end up doing.
we're running out of time, and I have two questions that I think are very important. One being, once again, the media construes what you say. Everything I read says that one of the biggest challenges in Europe in the upcoming election is going to be the women
Yesterday,
vote.
it was revealed, 2 days ago, it was revealed that Joe Biden and the family stole $27 million. Can you imagine if Trump stole $27 million or $2?
It would be
It would have
everywhere.
been, they would have stopped everything. They would have stopped the Democrat convention. They'll say, let's make it next week. Biden, it was revealed by Congress, by committees in Congress. I think 3 committees should beat.
Yeah.
And they're a massive military. And Ukraine isn't. But Ukraine has us giving them a lot of money. One of the things that's unfair is that you mentioned 170 or so, but I think we're into 250 billion worth of equipment and money and everything else. And Europe is probably at 75 or 80. And I said, they have to equalize. Why are you not? It's much more important for Europe than it is for us. We have an ocean separating us, right? Whereas Russia is right at their doorstep. And Ukraine has always been like sort of a guardrail. It was to Russia. Russia's always been a little difficult, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. And whether it's Russia or Soviet Union for a while, et cetera. But the problem you have, and the thing that most irks me, is all you have to do is say, you got to catch us. You know, Europe, if you add up the countries, is essentially the same size as the United States. Because of certain things I did, we're actually now bigger, but the economy is relatively the same. You know, you add up all the European countries and compare, and they should have paid at least $150 billion more than they've paid. We're way ahead of them. And I say they have to equalize. But I will get that war settled. It would have never began. It's so devastating. Many more people, when you're going to see the end result, just like they lied about jobs today.
I'd like to talk about the power grid, but I'd like to start with one of the major concerns in the veteran community is the way that the Afghanistan withdrawal happened.
Terrible.
We had 13 service members killed, 1 missing an arm and his leg, $7.1 billion in equipment left behind. Allies in Afghanistan have been abandoned, people that we fought alongside with for 20 years. We left the intelligence at our bases that depict where they live, biometrics, everything. How are we going to compete with China in the artificial intelligence space if we don't up our energy production?
If somebody like this Marxist gets in, I really don't believe it can happen. When she's exposed, I can't imagine. But if that happens, we're not going to be able to compete with anything. Mm-hmm. Oil, gas. You know, we were energy independent with me, first time in ever. And we're soon going to be energy dominant. We have more oil and gas. I call it liquid gold, under our feet than any other country, more than Saudi Arabia. We have more than any other country, more than Russia. We were going to be energy dominant, but we were already energy. We didn't need anybody's energy. We didn't need our ships going through areas near the Arabic world where the ships get blown out of the water. We didn't need anything from anybody. We're energy independent. Nobody can believe it.
Will we get
but we're
back
going to
there?
be energy dominant. Think of it. But AI is important and other things are important. But AI, do you know that for AI, you will need more energy, electricity. What they need is electricity. That specific word. You will need more electricity than we have right now for everything. See the strip behind us, and this big building. Add it all up. Everything in the United States You'll need double the energy that we produce right now, just for that one industry, if we're going to be the big player and dominant. If we're not going to be the big player, then China's going to take over that industry very easily. And the problem is, so we have to produce massive electricity that we don't have. But the environmental impact statements won't allow us to do that. The rules and regulations that we currently have won't allow us to do any of it, not even a tiny fraction of it. But if I'm president, we'll be able to do it. And we'll do it through natural gas, which is clean. And we'll do it through primarily natural gas and nuclear. You know, nuclear now has become very good, very safe. And you build the smaller plants and you attach them. But nuclear is very powerful, very good. The wind doesn't work. It's very expensive, kills the birds, destroys everything around it. It's very, 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 very bad. It's the most expensive energy, wind. And then every 9 years, you have to replace the turbines. You know, they're made out of steel and they wear out. But we will create tremendous electricity for our company, for our country.
I read that Elon Musk said that he would accept a position in your cabinet. Would that have to do with artificial intelligence?
So
if
Elon
you chose
and I
him?
have a great relationship. He's great. He is a totally unusual character. Do you know Elon at all?
I don't.
He's great. And he's smart. And we have to cherish our geniuses. You know, we don't have too many of them, right? But he is a brilliant guy. And what he really would like to do is get involved in cutting some of the fat. And he does know how to do it. And he loves the country. You know, it's just an amazing thing. We had a conversation the other day. You would know better than me, but I hear it had hundreds of millions of people. I heard it had the biggest audience that there's ever been. I mean, would you say that's a correct statement?
I would absolutely say
There's
that's
never been
correct.
anything even close. I heard 750 million people. I mean, numbers that are crazy. And yeah, he wants to be involved. Now, look, he's running big businesses and all that, so he can't really, I don't think he'd be for cabinet. I'd put him in the cabinet, absolutely, but I don't know how he could do that with all the things he's got going. But he can sort of, as the expression goes, consult with the country and give you some very good ideas. Like on AI, there's nobody knows more about it than Elon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big, big thing. And he said it's very important. I mean, it's very important for the country. If we don't do it, China's going to do it, or somebody else, but most likely China. And China is working right now to develop massive electricity, a flood of electricity, a massive flood of electricity. And we don't, because we have people that they're not even thinking about that.
Yeah.
And we have to win this election. This election is going, November 5th will be the most important day, in my opinion, in the history of our country. Because if our country goes the wrong way with this election, I think this country is doomed. With a lower rate, we took in more revenue than we did when it was high, because the incentive was so great. And I incentivized companies to bring the money back offshore, to bring the money. They had billions, trillions of dollars off, like $3.5 trillion. But there was no way to get it back. There was no mechanism. And the tax and the penalty was too high. And I reduced that. And I got Apple as an example, brought in $500 billion. The company started bringing that money back into the United States, using it to build.